This afternoon, we are going to be talking about how to have a great idea when you've got no time at all. So, having a great idea, as you know, is pretty difficult. But having a great idea when there's a clock on the wall ticking loudly above you, when your deadline is creeping ever closer, when your heart's going and your head is saying you're never going to be able to solve this problem, is exceptionally difficult. And that is what we are going to be dealing with today. The first thing I would encourage you to remember is that the word inspiration literally means take a deep breath, chill out. This is your first task. And one way to do this is through music. There's a wonderful playlist created by neuroscientists and composers on Spotify called Music for Brainwaves. And it's kind of drones and frequencies that have been designed to put your brain in a creative frame of mind. There are a few different versions of this, but Music for Brainwaves, I think, is particularly good. Another one that I came across last year is called My Noise, and this is a website where you can set different ambiences, forests and seascapes and this kind of thing. Just create beautiful, abstract, ambient landscapes that are just going to take a little bit of the heat out of the situation. Next task is to ask yourself, what is the obvious idea? What's the kind of route one idea here? And get that down. This achieves two things. The first thing is that it forces you to engage intellectually with the problem, to start thinking about what you need to say to your audience. And the second thing is once you've got that boring, bog standard, route one, within the box kind of idea out of the way, you've got something that you can build in. You know, you've already begun. You have something that you could give to the client. It's not great, but it's kind of taken a little bit of the pressure off. Now, you've got to then ask yourself, how long do I have? Have I got 2 days? Have I got 2 hours? What you do is you think about the time remaining on a bit of a timeline. And you divide that time right down the middle. The first half is going to be about opening up, and the second half is about distillation. So if you've got to deliver an idea by 3 o'clock and it's 1 o'clock now, from between 1 and 2, it's going to be all about exploring. Between 2 and 3, it's going to be about exploitation. Regular viewers of my stuff will know that I'm a huge fan of Sister Carita Kent. She was an extraordinary woman. She was a nun, as you can see, in a convent in Los Angeles, the Church of the Immaculate Heart, which is now Katy Perry's house. And while Sister Carita was serving as a nun, she discovered she had this extraordinary artistic ability. She became an expert in screen printing, and she made these beautiful, big, bright, bold, colourful prints that are a long way from what you might expect a nun to make. And although not many people know about Carita now, she achieved quite a lot of fame during her lifetime. She did these stamps for the US Postal Service, and she became a teacher of creativity. And these are 10 art department rules, which are really, really wonderful. I encourage you to look them up after this webinar. I have them hanging just over here. There you can see up on my wall in my shed. And rule number 8 is this: don't try to create and analyze at the same time the different processes. And it's one of the most important things I can tell you about the creative process. Too often people conflate these two things, and they're two entirely different neural circuits. And as soon as you start to analyze your work, to question whether it's good or not, you are arresting the creative process. So you've got to split these two things up. So to begin with, it's all about creation. And then halfway through, you switch from being an explorer to being an exploiter. You evaluate the ideas that you've come up with to see which feel fresh, which feel original, which feel distinctive, which feel rewarding. An anecdote I wanted to share this morning was about, it is one about a pottery teacher. And this pottery teacher one day went into her pottery class and said to the class, I'm going to divide you into two groups, right down the middle. I want you guys to make me the best pot you possibly can. You've got till lunchtime. You only need to make one pot, but it's got to be great. And then she said, you guys, I want you to make as many pots as you possibly can. Doesn't matter whether they're good or not. I just want you to see how many pots you can make by lunchtime. When lunchtime came around, these guys, the one pot guys, super stressed, strung out, had these really overworked pots that were just no good. These guys looked tired but happy. They had made a series of flawless pots because they got into a groove, they got into a rhythm. They weren't worried about whether the pots were any good or not. They could just lose themselves in the creative flow of making. So the thing to remember is, even if time is really, really short, quantity is the path to quality. It's your job now to come up with as many ideas as you possibly can. And so long as you aim for quantity, then quality will follow in its path. So I'm going to give you 11 techniques over the course of the next 50 minutes or so that you can have in your back pocket that will help you generate a great idea. And the first one is, what if you begin with the worst idea? In 1966, two advertising creatives, Roy Grace and John Noble, asked themselves exactly this question. They'd worked on loads of car briefs. They just got a brief for VW and they were getting a bit bored. And Roy said to John, hey John, what is the worst possible idea we can come up with for selling a car? And John said, I don't know, what if we said it at a funeral? And this advertising classic, which I'm about to show you, was born.
I, Maxwell E. Snavely, being of sound mind and body, do hereby bequeath the following. To my wife, Rose, who spent money like there was no tomorrow, I leave $100 and a calendar. To my sons, Rodney and Victor, who spent every dime I ever gave them on fancy cars and fast women, I leave $50 in dimes. To my business partner, Jules, whose only motto was spend, 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 I leave nothing, nothing, nothing. And to my other friends and relatives who also never learned the value of a dollar, I leave $1. Finally, to my nephew, Harold, who oft-times said, a penny saved is a penny earned, and who also oft-times said, gee, Uncle Max, it sure pays to own a Volkswagen. I leave my entire fortune of $100 billion. Boom.
Beautiful piece of work. And it was all born out of asking that question, what is the worst possible idea we can come up with? And when you do that, two things happen. One is you relax, because you're no longer trying to come up with something great, you're trying to come up with something terrible. But also it's often the first step in leading you to a really unconventional idea, because you're doing something that nobody else would. And it's a great way to flip yourself out of the tropes and familiar ways of solving the problem that you've been given. Number two, can you make the problem the solution? I really like birds. It's a thing, I heard my first cuckoo only last week here in Wales. And so I really don't like anti-bird spikes. And I was horrified when I heard that in Clifton, in Bristol, quite a rich, well-off area of Bristol, they've put anti-bird spikes in the trees to stop them shitting on the posh cars below. So I was delighted, my horror flipped to delight, when I read about a Dutch naturalist, this guy, Auke Florian Hemstra, who has discovered that corvids, in particular magpies, have learned how to peck apart the anti-bird spikes and turn them into nests. and they make an amazing durable building material. Because they're spiky, they keep predators away from eating the eggs. It's a beautiful illustration of one of the most elegant creative strategies of all, how to take a problem and flip it into a solution. And you see this again and again in real genre busting, iconic pieces of advertising creative. Avis is only number 2 in rent-a-cars. So why go with us? We try harder. When you're not the biggest, you have to. We just can't afford dirty ashtrays or half-empty gas tanks or worn wipers or unwashed cars or low tyres or anything less than seat adjusters that adjust, heaters that heat, defrosters that defrost. Obviously, the thing we try hardest for is to be nice, to start you out right with a new car like a lively Super Talk Ford and a pleasant smile, to know, say, where you get a good pastrami sandwich in Duluth. Why? Because we can't afford to take you for granted. Go with us next time. The line at our counter is shorter. Beautiful. Superb piece of copywriting, and it's born out of grabbing that problem. We're number 2 in rent-a-cars and flipping that problem into a solution. A more recent example is this one from South America. So in South America, salt is thought to be unlucky. There's a big South Ecuadorian salt manufacturer called Crisal. And for a long time, they'd wanted to sponsor the Ecuadorian football team. The Ecuadorian football team were like, no way, we're not going to let you guys sponsor us. We don't want to be doomed to lose for all the games we play in the future. So Crisal came up with a genius way of getting around this.
¡Sácate la sal, da Silva!
No, doctor, no nos eche la sal.
Está dedicándole mensajes de aliento a los rivales de la selección ecuatoriana para echarles algo de su mala suerte.
Tengo una marca ecuatoriana apoyando a Perú, ¿pueden creerlo?
Crisal es el auspiciante oficial de los rivales de Ecuador en el Mundial.
Crisal deseja boa sorte à seleção brasileira.
No recuerdo un partido así, que no expulsen a un jugador importante, que se lesionen 2 jugadores importantes, que después se lesione otro jugador durante el juego.
Great work from Crisal. I love that. Strategy number 3 is to tell it like it is. I was in New York a little while ago and I was walking along the sidewalk and I came across this sign: pizza, no pizza. The truth, beautifully and boldly stated. Just 3 words that not only tell me there's a pizza joint over here, or should I say over here, but that it is a place that's got a sense of humour. It's probably independent because this writing's been hand chalked, and had it not been 10:30 in the morning, I probably would have stopped and had some pizza. When it comes to communication, your most powerful weapon is the truth. Oasis ran this campaign last summer, I think. It's summer, you're thirsty, we've got sales targets. Your favourite celeb would drink Oasis if we paid them. Lunch without Oasis is like a boring poster. The truth, beautifully, boldly stated. Now, obviously, here it works with Oasis because it's kind of refreshing honesty, I imagine, is the brand platform that underpins it. But any great idea is a simple truth told in a surprising way. There is some resonant insight that your audience and you share, and you present it to your audience in a way that they've not quite seen or heard before. A simple truth told in a surprising way. This is all we're aiming for. So when that clock is ticking in the background, one of the things that you can do is get a pen and a piece of paper and write down, fill a page, fill 2 pages with as many truths or insights as you can about your product. And don't worry about having colloquial language, using language that's not the kind of language that you wouldn't get on a brief. If you do that, that's in fact better, you know. And then when you've got a long list of truths, you go through them one by one and you think about how many different ways I could illustrate each of those truths. This leads you to ideas. So for instance, let's say you've got to come up with a campaign for pot noodle quickly. You write a long list of truths or insights. One of those is nothing fills a hole like a pot noodle, which makes sense. It's quick, it's fast, it's filling. Could that be a tagline? Probably not. And then here we go. Nothing fills a hole like a pot noodle. Boom. Nothing fills a hole like a pot noodle. And nothing fills a hole like a pot noodle. A simple truth told in a surprising way. Number 4, can you take something away? When I was a kid, I learned how to ride a bike by my dad sticking a pair of stabilizers on the back, and they were rubbish. They were terrible for cornering. I'd get stuck on gravel, and there was a time when my dad removed the stabilizers and I fell off the bike. These days, kids learn to ride on a balance bike, which is a bike that has not had stabilizers added, but it's had the pedals removed. And sometimes the most creative thing you can do is to take something away, which feels counterintuitive. We believe that creativity is about addition, but sometimes creativity can be about subtraction too. You ask yourself, what assets have I got to play with that I can take away? I like this on the underground that I saw recently from IKEA, which is an armchair that costs £80, but there is no armchair there. And the line is, we design the price first because there's no point making something, wonderful things people can't afford. Lovely. Or when Netflix launched season 2 of Lupin last year, which is all about a jewel thief, and there were a series of ads that looked like high-end jewelry ads, but with the jewelry removed. Lupin, jewelry thief, no jewelry, aha, bingo. This one looks like a Tiffany ad. Beautiful, really, really lovely work. Or this, for a gym in America, I want to go at the gym, I'm stressed at work. Lose your butt. I want to go to the gym, I'm stressed at work. Or I want to go to the gym, where do I start? Lose your butt. And there's a I don't know, at least 7 or 8 different executions of this. Really, really smart. Number 5, can you give yourself a constraint? There's an incredible book by a French writer called Georges Perec, which is known in the English translation as A Void, and in the French as La Disparition, the disappearance. The remarkable thing about this book is that the whole book has been written without using the letter E. Those of you who remember your French will know that the definite article, the masculine definite article in French is le. And so that's kind of, a feat. And indeed, the first few critics, none of them noticed that this 300-page novel had been written without using the letter E. So successful was Georges Perec. But it wasn't just a kind of spurious artistic exercise. The book is about loss. Perec had lost a lot of family and friends during the Holocaust. If you can't use the letter E, you can't say père or mère or frère or sœur. The French letter E is you pronounce the letter E, in French, and is also the word for them. So the whole thing is about absence. And Jos Perec, having written this book, became a huge advocate of constraint. And he used the principle of constraint to write a lot of his subsequent novels. I have a book, an excellent book over there, called Life, a User's Manual, which is all set in a single building. And creativity researchers have found the more constraints you give people, the more creative they become, the less conventional they are. The fewer constraints, the more conventional people's ideas are. As Jos Perec himself said, I set myself rules in order to be totally free. So you write down a list of arbitrary constraints, and you could even keep them stuck on a notice board, and then you try them. One of my favorites in the context of commercial creativity is, what if we created our campaign without showing the product? It's a really, really nice test. And the sunglasses firm Ace and Tate did this, exactly this, with their fly posting campaign last summer, Bring on the Sun, an ad for a sunglasses firm with no sunglasses in sight. Number 6, can you do the opposite of everyone else? Another of my creative heroes, beside Karita Kent, is Brian Eno. He's still very much with us. There's a wonderful documentary about his process available online at the moment. And one day his friend Peter Schmidt said to him, what if you don't do the things that nobody had never thought of not doing? It's a bit of a puzzler. What if you don't do the things that nobody had never thought of not doing? In other words, Peter Schmidt was saying, most people, when they embark on a creative task, have things that they would do as a matter of course. And he was saying, what if you don't do those things we take for granted? Where would it lead you? So when Marcel Duchamp put a urinal in a gallery in New York and signed it Armut in 1917, which was an idea he'd stolen from Baroness Elsa Freytag von Loringhoven, but that's another story. But when he did that, up until that point, it was thought that an artwork had to be created by the hand of the artist. Marcel Duchamp opened the floodgates for conceptual art. Just over 100 years ago, when James Joyce wrote Ulysses, up until that point, it was thought that a novel needed a reliable, singular narrator and that a book would adhere to the rules of grammar and syntax. James Joyce blew all that out of the water and set the stage for modernism in literature. And then in 1952, when John Cage wrote 4 minutes 33 seconds, a piece of music that instructed the orchestra not to play for 4 minutes 33 seconds, he was saying anything can be music, any sound can be music, because when you listen to a performance of 4 minutes 33, and you can watch them on YouTube, pianist will come and open and close the piano in accordance with the 3 movements. There is no such thing as silence. There is the sort of creak of chairs in the auditorium. It's the sound of the audience coughing, the distant hum of the air conditioning, maybe a siren going by. And John Cage was saying anything can be music. Karen Nelson Field, in her book, The Attention Economy, said, if you ever want to truly and completely grab an individual's attention, you must break their prediction. When a prediction fails, the brain becomes primed to take in and hold on to new information. So most of the time, most advertising and design fails because it looks like most other advertising and design. This is something that's been observed by a French blogger called Christophe Courtois, who keeps montages of movie posters. You'll see that action movies very often are monochrome, but for a flash of flame. Thrillers and horrors often use a close-up of female lips, sometimes with a trickle of blood. Romances, I've got 2 big floating heads above the sea, more often than not. And rom-coms, 2 leads back to back against a pale background. Now, all this stuff just passes us by because it's not breaking our prediction. Your brain is an energy saving device, and so long as the world conforms to your expectations, as long as things are predictable, then you just kind of zoom along in autopilot. But now and again, something jolts you cognitively, it doesn't quite make sense. How might you arrive at an idea that does this, that really breaks the paradigm shift? Well, one thing you can try is oppositional thinking. So you go to ChatGPT and you ask it to list the conventions of your genre. If I was making a TV commercial for a VW Beetle, what are the kinds of things that I might do? What are the tropes and conventions of that medium? And then you look at each of those and you say, well, what is the opposite of that thing? So if I were to, let's say I've got to make an ad for a mortgage company, I'm probably going to show a happy couple. I'm probably going to use a shallow depth of field. I'm probably going to show that couple in their new home. The vibe is going to be mellow and smiley and upbeat. Most mortgage advertisers make mortgage advertising like this, and that's why we have no idea what makes one mortgage company different from another. So I was very edified to see this piece of work from the UK's fastest growing financial services company, which takes a deliberately different approach to selling mortgages.
Want to save money on your mortgage? It's either or Habito.
Hell or Habito. Lovely work. And that was a great campaign worth checking out. Number 7. 1 + 1 = 3. No, it doesn't. I hear you cry. But in the context of creativity, yes, it very often does. Masahiro Hara was a Japanese employee at a car parts factory, and there were an extraordinary amount of car parts in this factory. So many different car parts that each of them had to carry several different barcodes. And one day, Masahiro was having lunch and he was playing the strategy game Go. Now in Go, the counters are arranged both vertically but also horizontally. And Masahiro got to wondering, could I reconfigure a barcode so the information wasn't just vertical but was also on the horizontal axis? And this led to the creation of the QR code. And on a QR code, you can store 200 times more information than you can on a regular barcode. And again, throughout the history of human innovation, we see combinatory creativity, where two things that shouldn't go together are smashed together to create a third thing that is greater than the sum of its parts. And one way you can employ this in your own creative process is to try special wiki random. So you type special wiki random into Google and it takes you to a page. I think it's changed a little bit, but it's a page a bit like this. And you click on the blue special random and it takes you to a completely random Wikipedia page. You land there. Let's say it's about the history of the Ugandan flag. And you go, right, okay, how can I use the history of the Ugandan flag as a springboard for making my ad about VW commercials? I don't know. You'd have to work that out. Maybe there's something in colour, or maybe you got a series of VWs that come together to make the flag, or maybe you take an overland trip to Uganda. I really don't know, but it's a great way of just giving you a little spark, providing you with the input your brain needs to generate something fresh and novel. At this point in the webinar, I wanted to say 3 things about me and do a little bit of shameless self-promotion. First thing, some of you may not know this, but I do one-to-one creative coaching. So if you are a creative professional and you are struggling with imposter syndrome or creative confidence, or you're looking to make a move to transition, or you're in a new role and you feel uncertain about how to deal with it, any of these kind of things, I can help in 90-minute sessions that I space out every couple of weeks. Number 2, I do workshops and masterclasses for organizations like these. I've been into IMAX and the Premier League and Fox, Discovery, Mattel, AMC, all these kind of companies, to work with teams to help them feel more confident creatively, have better ideas, and I love doing it. And there we are with some people from, this is from Viacom. I was in at Viacom earlier in the year. And then finally, the third thing is the Creative Retreat is a 3-day event that is happening here in beautiful Wales, right there in that medieval farmstead on the side of a mountain. It's going to be 3 incredible days, and I will share the link to that now. So if you're curious, have a click, and you can find out more about the Creative Retreat. Maybe you can join me. So 3 more things. Can you make the medium the message? So can you use the medium itself in an original and surprising way? So this is kind of like the meta approach. You know, you think about the format you've been asked to deliver in, whether that's a TV ad or something for social or an event or a poster, and you think about how I could use it in a different way. So I loved this from Marmite when they released Chili Marmite a couple of years ago, and they did these special builds around the UK where the Marmite is so hot it's blown the top off. Beautiful. But you don't have to do a special build. You can just use the poster site in a really smart way. If your garden faces south, like this poster, these are the plants for you. And on the opposite side of the tunnel, if your garden faces north, like this poster, these are the plants for you. Beautiful. In Copenhagen, they've raised some benches 85 centimeters to communicate that if we don't do anything about climate change, by the end of the century, sea levels will have risen in Copenhagen to 1 meter. It's a beautiful example of a simple truth told in a surprising way as well. Number 9, can you believe it? We're on 9 already. Oblique strategy. So once again, we return to the extraordinary intellectual landscape of Brian Eno, the founder of ambient music. And him and Peter Schmidt would often talk about creative strategies for getting unstuck. And they would write these down as a list to begin with. And they'd share these between them. And they started using them when they got stuck. But they found that by having a list, you had the opportunity to choose one, and you choose one that wasn't always necessarily the right one for the task in hand. And Brian thought, well, wouldn't it be better if these were all random? So he turned them into the oblique strategy cards. And the way this works is you get the deck and you give it a shuffle without spilling them. And then you cut the pack. Honour thy error. Can we see that? Honour thy error as a hidden intention. Honour thy error as a hidden intention. That's beautiful. So you look back at the ideas you've come up with, and where there's been something that you feel is a mistake, and then you think, well, could that actually be pointing me to a direction where I should head? The nice thing about the cards is they're kind of cryptic, and so you have to interpret them. There's no correct interpretation. So there's a bit of latitude there. And again, a bit like Special Wiki Random, they're just a way of introducing something into the process to give you a nudge to come up with an idea that gets you over the line. Another one by a couple of creators called Yogi Ramakrishnan and Todd McCracken is the Deck of Brilliance. And you can find this online. And it's 20 different strategies with examples of commercials that have done the same. And it's a nice thing to have in your back pocket. I prefer oblique strategy because it forces you to think beyond the confines of advertising and design. But still a useful tool. Number 10, we've got 2 more. The genre flip. So this is where you take the thing you're working on and you put it in a different category. So Nike entered the MLS season, the women's soccer season, in the Golden Globes in the category of Best Drama, which I thought was genius. You know, what a great way to draw attention to the fact that this women's football, women's soccer, is hugely exciting sport by entering it in a drama category where all the other entrants are TV series. It's a particularly good strategy if you're working with a property that the audience is familiar with. So IFC made this amazing spot for their Alien marathon. And what's lovely about this is it's also a nice example of 1 + 1 = 3. What if you take the Alien movies and you smash them together with the talent show The Voice?
Yeah.
So we got one more left, which is number 11. I was rather hoping I'd have 10 or 12, but I've gone with an odd number, and this is the final one. Can you find a metaphor? So when Nike were asked their agency Soft Power to come up with a way of promoting their new sneakers that were super light and super responsive, the agency made this. I think it's just great. What better way to say super light, super responsive, but with a hummingbird whose wings make like whoosh. It's a really lovely exercise, and I would encourage you to do it even when the clock is not against you. What is a way of most eloquently encapsulating in a single image or a single idea the essence of what it is that you wish to communicate? What's a metaphor for the idea, and how do you dramatize the metaphor in a compelling way? And in order to illustrate this, I'm going to play my favorite ad of all time, possibly. Forgive me if some of you, I've shown this to some of you before, but I think it's ace.
Always misunderstood. I think I was always misunderstood. People just didn't seem to like me. I think I annoyed them. I got on their nerves. I don't know why. That's just the way it was. Yeah. Maybe I was too intense. Maybe I came on too strong. I don't know. I really can't say. Yeah, it was lonely. Really lonely. But you get used to it after a while. And then, one day, everything changed. Somebody finally accepted me for what I am. Since I've got this job, life is completely different. I finally feel useful, good at something.
So, in conclusion, what is the worst idea? It's a great place to begin. What's the worst possible idea we can come up with? Takes the heat off, makes things fun, gets the ball rolling. Can you make the problem a solution? What is the problem that we've been asked to solve? What if we grasp that? Is there a way of flipping it? Can we make like the magpies in Clifton? Tell it like it is. A great idea is a simple truth told in a surprising way. Can you mobilize the truth in a way that is engaging to your audience? Ask yourself, what can I remove? What can I take away that the audience is expecting to encounter? Creativity is not just additive. Sometimes the most creative thing you can do is to subtract. The more constraints you apply, the more creative you become. There may be some constraints already in the brief, but what if you give yourself a few more? Where might that take you? Can you create a commercial without showing the product? Try oppositional thinking. What are the conventions and tropes of your category? What happens if you do the opposite? Really nice way to employ ChatGPT here is to use it to help you identify those tropes and cliches. Take two things that shouldn't go together and smash them together, because sometimes 1 + 1 = 3. Special wiki random, beautiful tool to use when you're feeling a bit stuck. Can you make the medium, the message? Can you do something creative like Marmite did with their special builds? Can you do something with the format that nobody has ever quite tried before? What can you do in this medium that can only be done in this medium? Remember Brian Eno's oblique strategy cards? You don't need to buy the cards. There's an online generator. So that's another great one. Then there's the genre flip. What if I take the thing that I'm promoting or selling or talking about and shift it into another category and use the vernacular or the aesthetic or the language of that category? And finally, can you find a metaphor? What is the essence of what you want to say, and what is an image that beautifully encapsulates that? 11 strategies for you to try next time the clock is against you. If you've enjoyed any of this stuff, then I've written a book. I'm on the verge of embarking on another. But for now, Creative Demons and How to Slay Them is available in all good bookshops, and now in Spanish too. But that's it from me today. Thanks very much indeed. The website is there. You can follow me on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. And by all means, do connect with me on LinkedIn. I will linger, as is traditional, to see if there are any questions. But otherwise, thanks very much. And thanks, Nick. Have a great Easter break yourself.